Доброго дня усім.
Good afternoon, everyone who are now with us in Ukraine Crisis Media Center or who watches us online. We continue our work. And the topic is the results of the joint project of the National Investment Council and the Ukrainian Crisis Media Center, UN100 Be First to Invest. Our guests are Yulia Kovaliv, head of the Office of the National Investment Council, Gennadiy Kurochka, co-founder of UCMC, Olena Belova, project presenter and speaker, economist, Miss Ukraine Earth 2016. Welcome. Good afternoon, dear friends. As usual, in this time, we provide our press conference on UN100 UCMC project. This is our fourth project. And we have this ergonomic form that helped us to have 130 presentations to the presidents of different countries. And it attracted incredible attention. On this topic of our project about the projects for investment, and I would like to say about this, and I would like to give the floor to Yulia Kovaliv. She represents the National Investment Council, and she will tell us more about investment projects. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. This is our first joint project with UCMC, and I hope that this won't be the last one. And this idea that gathered us one day, how the world sees Ukraine. So UN100 first was about revolution of dignity, about our values in our country, and also occupation and military actions in the east of Ukraine. And also, we need to show different Ukraine that changes, that has big potential, and to show Ukraine from different side. The country in which it is good to invest, the country that in 3 years created its strengths, its muscles, due to reforms that we implemented, and to show Ukraine concerning its potential. So how will we show this potential? Maybe the best way how to do this, how to show this potential, are the big projects that Ukraine proposes to the world, that Ukraine proposes for potential investors. And the best language here is the language of figures, the language of directions, where the leaders can bring their business, where this business can come to, and how to implement the projects. The Office of Investment Council cooperates with the ministries, with the government, and we created 10 big projects that can be of interest. And I would like to say about these projects and briefly outline what we can show and propose to the world concerning investment. And these are flagship projects, after the realization of which our place in the investment attractiveness map will be a bright spot for the attraction of other investors to the country. So this is concession at Ukraine's largest airports. So this is not a Ukrainian bike we invented. Largest airports of the world, they are in the management through concession by private operators, and this is the simplest and understandable mechanism how we can attract big investment, companies to our infrastructure. So we speak about two big airports, Kiev, Boryspil Airport and Lviv Airport. And today we know that Boryspil Airport is one of the most prospective airports of the Eastern Europe, where the flow of passengers increases yearly 30%. So this is one of the biggest dynamics among the airports in the region. And it transforms not only in local airport, but in transport hub between Europe and countries of Asia, and we see this concerning the flow of passengers, and also there is interest of companies to speak with the government about these projects. Another project that we presented in the framework of big projects. This is our IT industry. So this is one of the industries that shows the biggest growth. And we spoke about it a lot in Ukraine. Today, we are one of 3 biggest IT industry destinations. And this business grew 8 times, and the export of IT services grows. And we have all the resources for this. We have people, we have quality education, and we see today a lot of IT startups that emerge in Ukraine. We see international companies that open R&D centers here. So this is one of the things where we are really competitive in the world market. Next. So this is our infrastructure. So we focused our attention in infrastructure and attraction of private investors in infrastructure. So this is the sector that needs quick and big investment, and we as a state, we are not, we finance army, and we finance social service and medical sphere, and also pension fund, and in order to quickly modernize this area, we need investment. So this is the port concessions, and we see the interests of the big international companies, maybe the biggest operators in the world, and they are interested in the projects in Ukraine. We have support of the Ministry of Infrastructure that together with us works in order to implement these projects. At the same time, there is an infrastructure projects concerning highways. So without private investors, it is difficult to implement. So we need to attract private companies to build, to manage roads. So we need to repair the roads, and the pace should be accelerated than it was in 5 years, during the last 5 years. And in order to modernize the highways, we need 15 years. We don't have this time, and business and the increase of our potential needs proper infrastructure, and the projects that we can propose to the world. These are big projects, each of which is more than 300 million, and these are the projects that we see being implemented in Europe and in other countries, and we see the development of African nations. They attract private operators, private funds to develop road infrastructure. The next slide. Agrarian, agricultural sector. So bread and basket and the agrarian sector, this is our basket, and Ukraine is the world basket of food, and we have resources and land, we have logistics that is being developed, and we see growth of export of agricultural produce, and a positive trend we see is the growth of export not only of commodities, agri-commodities, grains, corn, but also export of added value products. And there is a great interest in the world in the agrarian market, and it is focused on the fact that the population of the world grows, and the wealth of population grows, and it requires quality food, quality market of agrarian produce, and the development of the agrarian sector, investment in the sector. This is one of the quickest investment that come to Ukraine. So we expect that the land market and its launch will be a big driver that will allow in the mid-term prospect to attract a lot of funds in the development of agrarian potential. Next sector. This is our aircraft production. Today, Ukraine is competitive in the market of aviation cargo transportations, and there is a line of airplane that Ukraine is ready to show to the world, and Ukraine presented it in the framework of this project. We are capable and ready to produce airplanes, and we see interest of investors, and it is in the form of agreements, and we see that Saudi Arabia now have the contract for production and supply of 30 airplanes, and these planes are competitive concerning quality and reliability and price, and this is potential of Ukraine, and it is not well known to the world, and through our mechanism, through UN 100, Be First to Invest, we want to provide information that we have such opportunities in aircraft design and production in Ukraine. The next project that is worth showing in the world, these are our unique gas transportation system, gas transmission system. So this is the issue of our energy security. And during the last 3 years, in the framework of reform of energy sector, Ukraine searches for partners, for investors that would help us to efficiently manage our gas transmission system. And this issue is not only about investment. This is about our security, about our political project, and about the issue of Nord Stream, and we hope that those reforms that will be implemented in the energy sector will allow us to get attractive investors that will, together with Ukrainian state, will implement the project on managing gas transmission system. Next slide, please. So this is energy sector, and here I would like to say that the big role and big interest to the development of energy sector in Ukraine, and here we see the connection between reforms that are ongoing during 3 years and in the markets, and the interest of investors in this sector. And we speak about gas production sector. Here, as a state, we expect until 2020 that there will be 5 billion of investment in gas production, and all these investments cannot be implemented due only to state resource. And the attraction of investors to the sphere of gas and oil production is one of the big projects that can and will be implemented in Ukraine, and for this we implement number of reforms, not only in the gas market, but also the liberalization of the use of the natural resources, and we work with the government to create conditions for investors in order that they were able to efficiently take decisions and invest in the sector of gas production. I would like also to say about one more project that is not only economic. Next slide, please. So the project that is not economically attractive, but also we see that 50 private companies are interested in this project, but also this is an ecology, environmental project and beautiful project. This is a project of solar power plants in the territory that is contaminated in the result of a nuclear disaster in Chernobyl. So concerning the stimulus and regulation that is now in Ukraine, we see that the renewable energy market is one of those markets where we see a lot of investors, both middle and big investors, who are not only declaring their interests in this investment, but also implement the projects. And each month we see in the news, and we speak with the companies who launch big, mid projects in renewable energy. And this project itself, I repeat, this is not only economically attractive, it is also beautiful, because in this way we can change the sources of energy. So we say that the place that was contaminated in the result of Chernobyl catastrophe, we will build the sources of renewable energy that are clean and and we will be in the global trend in the use of renewable energy use. And in this project, we see the interest of the companies from the different parts of the world, from Asia, from Europe, in North America. And this is one of the projects that produce the most of the interest, and we hope that next year we will shift to active phase of its implementation. Summing up. So we presented Ukraine from different perspectives. We have shown infrastructure, energy, technology, IT, agrarian sector. So the response that we have, first they said, wow. First response was unexpected, and for us it was really important to show Ukraine, to show not only the conflict, not only news about war and corruption in Ukraine, but to show Ukraine concerning opportunities. And we believe that attraction of international investment, this is not only about growth of economy. This is the issue that will bring a lot of fundamental changes in the country. This will accelerate reforms in the sectors that will help also to fight corruption, because if we have foreign investors that do business differently, they have world Western practices of doing business, and this will change business environment that still needs reform in Ukraine. So we tried to show Ukraine in a different way, to show Ukraine as a country of opportunities. So I would like to add that this laconic form of presentation, the main aim and target audience are presidents of different nations. And we thank National Investment Council that they helped us to show it in a clear and understandable way. These are figures and revenue, profit. So, and also, so we wanted to provide this information to the leaders of different nations, and we also have video clips for them. So there is a small screen here you see, and 6 buttons, and we will show a joint video that we've made together with the Yulia Kovaliv office.
Now is the time. And why do I say that? Ukraine has been through a lot. The revolution of dignity, the war, and in spite of that, we see things turning around.
I think the message is come to Ukraine, look at the country, look at the potential, speak to the companies that are here on the ground already, and they can share their experience of their success stories of working in Ukraine.
Come in for the long game. Be patient, be prepared, play by the rules. This is a country where you can make investments and you can get a great return on your investments.
Ukraine is known as an agricultural powerhouse. We see the agriculture, information technology, and infrastructure. That's where a lot of investment is coming today. But we also see niche sectors like aerospace, technology. These are the sectors where we're seeing investors looking at today. And I think this could be real interesting sectors for the future.
Ukraine is getting slowly and will be getting FDI. At the same time, the government is cleaning up the institutions, which will and are giving investors more comfort when they come to this country. I see the future as bright, and welcome to Ukraine.
Друзі, ну і звичайно.
Dear friends, of course, one of our main videos is the presentation of the vision of a new Ukraine, of new Ukraine's economy, and this year we invited Olena Belova, a young economist, and I would like to present a video address to the heads of the state, how it happened, and Olena will also share her impressions with us.
President Emmanuel Macron. My name is Olena Belova. I'm a Ukrainian economist. Like tens of thousands of my Ukrainian peers, I study and work at the same time. Last year, I won the Miss Ukraine contest and thus have a moral obligation to be the ambassador of my country's positive image abroad. As an economist, I want to focus my message on economic and investment potential of my country. In 2014, the world has learned about my country thanks to the victory of Euromaidan, a democratic pro-European revolution. You've also frequently heard that Ukraine is experiencing difficult times. You saw the news about Russia's aggression, the annexation of Ukraine's Crimea, and Russia's hybrid war in the occupied Donbass. Much less is known about the Ukrainian reforms. However, during the last 3 years, we've been rebuilding our country at an unprecedented rate. Ukrainians chose the path of modernization, and we are optimistic about our future. The Ukrainian economy is on the rise. You can see vivid and ample evidence of this when you walk down the streets of Ukrainian cities. Hundreds of thousands of tourists fill the streets of ancient Kyiv, historical Lviv, and beautiful Odessa. Thousands of new coffee shops and restaurants, hundreds of new shopping malls and stores of the world's leading brands open across the country. Every year, dozens of new factories are opened, and the Ukrainian exports to the European Union, Africa, and Asia are expanding rapidly. The visa-free regime and the association agreement between Ukraine and the European Union are now fully operational. Ukrainian food products are sold all over the world. Software written by Ukrainian IT specialists works in most of your gadgets. The world's largest airliner, AN-224 Mriya, and American space rocket engines. All this is the work of the highly skilled Ukrainian professionals. In Chernobyl, where the largest man-made catastrophe in the history of mankind occurred, a huge solar power station will be built shortly, 10 times larger than this one, located not far from Kyiv. It will be a symbol of new hope, not only for Ukraine, but for the whole world. Take a look at this book. In it, you will find not only prospective and profitable projects, you will find here powerful reassurance that Ukrainians are hardworking inventors and creators who are able to change the world for the better. We love Ukraine and believe in its victory and its future. We hope you will too.
I'd like to say a few words about my impressions. Of course, every of 6 days which we spent with our mission at the UN General Assembly, at the plenary sessions, it could be named just lifetime experience, because it was the experience for the whole life, communication with leaders of different states and presentation of Ukraine at the top level in the world, continuous feeling that you want to represent your state as at the best level. Our team worked at the highest level. The very informative, modern and relevant presentation has been generated, and I was very happy when I heard from the leaders of other countries a real wow. It was incredible, and I will never forget my experience. And as the representative of young Ukrainian economists, I feel dignity that I have managed to present to Ukraine at the highest level. I think that our team worked very good. I'd like to add a few words. Our main mission was dedication to those 100 countries. Here you can see a small extract. You remember the General Assembly Resolution 68/262 condemning the annexation of the Crimean Peninsula by Russia. This presentation for the first time and it became possible thanks to the belief in us of Valery Chali, who is rather enthusiastic about our initiative, and thanks to Boris Loshkin from presidential administration, and having limited resources. We were very enthusiastic and willing to communicate our stand, what happened at Maidan, what is happening now in Ukraine, that this is a revolution of dignity, but not a coup, as many said in Russian propaganda. We should help the interests in the world to be kept on Ukraine. Our first presentation was dedicated to Maidan, and this presentation and this project received the Golden Prize at the most prestigious PR Forum Saber Award. I think that this is the most interesting nomination in public affairs area. Here you see the photos when we received this award with Natalia Popovich, and I would like to say that with Natalia Popovich we made provided the status of the most important project of UCMC, and for the fourth year this project remains most important. Our team was Yulia Maroshevska, Natasha Loseva, who represented 50 innovations, and 135 innovations with Olena Belova were presented, and to our successes we should add very big success of our presentation when the president of Ukraine in person during these 4 years, at least 60 presentations were made by Petro Poroshenko in person to Barack Obama, and this year to the General Assembly Secretary of the United Nations organization. So I would like to say that we will continue working, and every time for the first year in the succession, the president of other countries associate our team with the countries. Some personalities may change, but Ukraine remains presented at a rather high quality level. When we surprised with this technically high quality presentation with its interesting format, and we were asked by the presidents how you will surprise us next year. Maybe you can't make better presentation than this one. And this year it was wow again. And what shall you make for the 5th anniversary? We will continue working all together for the sake of Ukraine, for the benefit of Ukraine. And the last passage, a very interesting video which we have been already demonstrating this year. The main message remains the same, that Ukraine's people's fight for freedom. I would like to thank for the video produced. It has been used for the 2nd year in the 6th, and I am proud of our country.
Rain. Feel it. This is its song. It's space, color, it's passion and power. It's voice and choice.
Українську Народну Республіку.
It's freedom. Independence. Dignity. It's sacrifice. Protect Ukraine. And be the master of your land. Ukraine at the forefront of freedom.
Дякую вам. Якщо можна, одне.
Thank you. I have one specifying question. Maybe it is too early to talk about specific proposals which may have followed your presentation, but there were already some statements, appraisal from foreign colleagues. Only 2 weeks of time have passed upon the last presentation, but we have been working on the image of the country in multidimensional way. The project are primarily focused on changing the image of Ukraine and perception of Ukraine in the world in parallel with the project which we presented. The work continues, and in practice we see potential investors for each project which we presented, and at some of them there are some deep negotiations being conducted. At some projects feasibility studies are in progress. We should understand altogether to understand and moderate our expectations. Large-scale projects for $100 million, even if they are not of national importance. Telling the truth, we spend much time than private business for preparation of projects, so we prepare projects within 1 or 2 years. At the end of 2015, we started negotiations with General Electric Transportation Company on implementation of Ukrzaliznytsia project, joint project. This is the project for 10 years period, and today we are very close to finalizing the negotiations and finalizing the project, but it took time. On average, it takes 1 or 1.5 years. For example, Chernobyl solar project, we expect that French government, which supported Ukraine, that the feasibility study would be completed by the year end. After that, we will move forward to structure the contracts. So we expect next year we will see the first outcomes in the format of concluded agreements. Are there any more questions, colleagues? No questions. Then we will see what results we will see in a year's perspective, but the beginning was very successful to change the image of Ukraine from the failed state to the state of successes.